Hi, and happy Labor Day. And I hope you're having a nice long weekend. I'm Janet Leonard. I am virtualinstructor.com. And every Monday, I come to you with some little time saving tips for the week. So today, I'm going to show you some tips on working with graphics in Microsoft Word. Now, I'm using a new camera because last week I switched out a camera and it wasn't very clear. So hopefully, this will work. This is and I'm not making any money on this, but I'm testing it out. So in case it looks good, this is the HD webcam with a ring light, and it's made by Case Cube. I just got it on Amazon. So we'll see how that is. Alrighty, so I'm going to switch over to show you just a little bit about, if you like these Monday Lives, how you can see what's scheduled next. So you can just go to our website at virtualinstructor.com, and then when you click on that Monday Live, this is where I have a calendar of what I'll be talking about. So today we're going to talk about graphics in Word. If you're starting to use Teams and you want a little overview, next week I'll talk about that. Following week, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks for Zoom as a participant, as well as a meeting organizer. And then at the end of the month, I'll talk about the 3D objects that you can get in Microsoft 365, which is formerly Office 365. So that's their new term. Alrighty, enough of that. Let's get into some little known secrets about graphics in Word. So I'm going to switch over to Word right now, and let's get over there. And hopefully you can see this now. All right, I'm in Microsoft Word. And if you've attended any of the other Monday Lives, I do have a little trick that I usually show you, which is where if you type in equal and then RAND and then an open and a closed parentheses, that says equal rand. And then as soon as you hit enter in Word, it automatically gives you some test data to play with. Now, depending on your version of Word, and if you're on a Mac or a PC, you might get a little different version of text to play with, but it's a great way to test things out so that you don't have to do all the typing yourself. All right, now what I'm going to show you here is being demonstrated on a PC, but it works the same way if you're on a Mac. So you can do this similar things. Now, you may have done graphics before. You just insert a graphic. I'm going to show you a couple extra tricks that most people don't know about. So if I'm over here on the second paragraph. Now, there's a reason I'm pointing that out for you. And I'm just going to go up to insert, and then I'll just go to pictures. And I'm just going to use the stock images that are available to us in Microsoft Word. So I'll just click on that. If you're not aware of this, when you bring this up, you have images. It should refresh in a second. Icons. I'll go back to images now. There you go. And then I'm going to pick out some cutout people so that we can have text wrap around them. But just so you see, you also have stickers, which are fun, and illustrations. All right. So I'm just going to go to cutout people. And I have this person, let's see. I think I'm going to pick this gal right here because it looks like she's kind of pointing to something. So all I'm going to do is I click the little check there, and I'll choose insert. And now she gets brought into my Word document. And while she's selected, up on the ribbon, you'll see that there's a new tab that appears. It's called Picture Format. And that's because she's a picture and because I have her selected. So if I click off of her, you'll notice that picture format's going to go away. See how it's not there? Because I'm not selecting that image. So I'm going to click back on that picture. Image picture is kind of the same thing. But she's way too big right now. So I'm going to click back up on the picture format tab. And way over at the far right, I don't know if you can see it, but she's 9 inches tall. Well, that's way too tall for my little document. So I'm just going to change her from 9 inches to 3 inches. And as soon as I hit the tab key, it's going to keep her proportional. So it changed the width as well. So it's down to 1.46. All right, so there she is. And if you notice, here she is, but she's kind of on that first paragraph. That's because by default, when you insert a graphic into Word, it assumes you want it to be treated like it's a letter, like the letter A. And so she is right now being treated like a letter. But I don't want her to be treated like a letter. I want her to just be a graphic, and I want text to flow around her. So Here's a little trick. By the way, you probably already have noticed there's 80 billion ways, not quite, but there's always many ways to do something. So I'm just going to be consistent in showing you one particular way. So while she's selected, I'm clicking again, and you might notice that this little tiny box shows up. This is a real fast way to change how the text wraps around something. So I'm going to do a single click on that, and you might notice that there is a section, just one option in where it says in line with text, and that's what's selected right now. So she's being treated like she's a letter, like the letter A, the letter B, that sort of thing. Now below is with text wrapping. So I'm going to start demonstrating that one. I'll choose the first one, and as I hover over it, you can see it says square. So I'll do a single click on it, and sure enough, it kind of makes a square. And what I'll do is I'll move inside and select her and drag her and see how it basically makes a square around her. All right, that's one option, but I'm going to go back over to the little icon. This is one I use quite often. It's called tight. When I click on that, notice how the text kind of wraps around her. Now that's pretty good, but I actually want to control how close that text wraps around her. And that's a little trick I'm going to show you in a moment. But I'll just go back and show you the other options before we learn that little trick. Go back to the options. And this particular one, you're not really going to see much of a difference. It's the wrap through. Okay. But this one, notice, this one says, don't wrap anything on the left or the right. So just make all the text wrap completely around it, which would be great if I wanted to maybe center her or whatever. I use it a lot in when we're writing our training guides. We actually will have some type of graphic, and then we'll put other graphics in here. So that's where that kind of can come in handy. And then there's also the wrap behind text. Wrap behind text puts her behind the text. Now, there are times you might want that. Overall, the way you might use that is if you are creating like a watermark or something. And then this is where we put her in front of the text. And then if you wanted to, and you didn't know the trick I'm about to show you, you would probably go ahead and click at different words and try to hit enter and move things around. Okay, that's way too much work. So I'm going to show you how we can adjust how the text wraps around her. So I'm going to go back over, starting with tight, because I think that's the easiest place to get there. And then I'll just click off of that. Now to get to this next thing, I'm going to do a single click back on her. And notice again, we have picture format up here. Then I'll just go over to wrap text, which is on that ribbon tab. And then there's an option called edit wrap points. When I do that, notice how it puts kind of a little red line around her image. Now, I would like this text to go closer to her body, and I don't want this big line here. So all you have to do is click where you think you kind of want a little break point, and then you can just drag it in. And then I'm just going to click and drag it around a little bit more. I'm going to click over here and drag it down. Now I went a little bit too close to her thumb. So all I have to do is click and bring it back out. And I want it to go closer to her wrist. So I'm just going to kind of click, and you just do little points to grab it and move it to wherever you want the text to be able to wrap closer. All right, now it did wrap somewhat, a little bit more than before, but not as much as I'd like. I think I need a little more space here though, so it doesn't go right up to her jacket. Now, what I'll do is I'll click off of here, and we have it wrapping a little nicer, but I'd like that text to be closer to her image. So here's something. We'll do a single click back on the graphic, and I'll go back over. You can either go to this little button here, but I'll just be consistent and go back up to the wrap text. So remember, I was able to edit the wrap points with this one, but I'm going to go down to the option that says more layout options. And if you're not aware of this, anytime you see a menu option, a drop-down option, a button that has 3 dots after it, that always means that it has something else to show you. So usually means a dialog box is going to pop up. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and that brings up this little dialog box. Now there's a lot of different options that we can do, but let me show you this one. We're going to go over to, we're on text wrapping, and you can see the text is kind of wrapping around her, but it's not as close. So here on the left side and the right side, by default, Word thinks you want some kind of of spacing. So I don't want anything. I'll just click the drop down until it goes to 0. And watch when I choose OK. See how things move closer to it? So you can actually adjust that if you want. That's kind of fun. All right, and then I can kind of move her around, and maybe I think I want her to be kind of having her hand near the word theme. So you can just move her around and you can see how the wrapping is going on. Now, the next thing I want to do, I think I'll move her a teeny bit more over here. There we go. And so I'll just leave her at this point. Now, another thing, so that's one thing I was going to cover today, which is how you can edit how the text wraps around an image, right? And again, maybe I'll move her back over here. The other thing is your images are always anchored to a paragraph. And so if you notice, I've got her selected and it's actually anchored. There's a little anchor to the second paragraph, which means that if I select this paragraph and I cut it, she's going to go with it. So watch what happens. A little trick you may not know about is if you click 3 times in a paragraph, click, 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 it takes the entire paragraph. And notice it includes her with it. So if I cut this right now, and then I decide to move her down maybe to the second to the last paragraph, and I'll just paste it, there she is, still with that same wraparound and the edit that I did, but she's still locked to this paragraph, which means if I edit this document and maybe I add 5 or 6 more paragraphs, and that paragraph gets moved to another page, she goes with that paragraph. So by default, your image is always going to be locked to that particular paragraph. Now I'm going to show you one other thing that's kind of cool, because sometimes you say, well, that's fine, but I have a graphic that I want to always stay at this one particular spot on this particular page. And if I edit it in such a way, I want the text to wrap around that graphic. I don't want that graphic to move with the text. So I'll go back to the second paragraph. And this time I'll show you how you can draw something in. So this works with the shapes as well as an image. I'll go back up to insert and I'll go to shapes and I'll just pick a little star. That's a fun one. And I'll draw a star right about here, right? And notice it is, the little anchor is at the second paragraph. Now, it's not always at the second paragraph. It's just for this demonstration, it's at the second paragraph. And I'm going to move it up a teeny bit. I think I'll change the color. I want it to be yellow. And I want to also, just like we did before, edit how the text wraps around this. So we'll go back over to here. Right now, it's in front of text. So I will put it to tight. And that doesn't look so great. So sometimes it does. I'd say 9 times out of 10, tight is just perfectly fine. But I'm going to click on this one. Then I'll go back up. And this time it's shape format, but it's very similar. And I'll go to that same wrap text. And I'll go back down to where it says edit wrap points. And then you can notice that we have the same little wrap points. Maybe I'll just bring this one up a bit and bring these little guys down a teeny bit. Now the problem is still not indenting quite the way I want. So I can go back over to wrap text and I can go down to more options like we did before. And I'll just set the wraparound. Now that's the left really isn't going to happen at anything, right? Because it's the left margin. The right is the one that's going to affect this one. I'll choose that and see how it has wrapped things around. Maybe apply is too close, so I can select this one more time. I can go back up to wrap text and edit the points, and I'll just move this little part of the star out a little bit more so that apply doesn't come too close to that star. So hopefully that gives you some ideas on how you can use that edit the points around a graphic. But the last thing I'll show you, and we'll wrap up so you can get back to your Labor Day holiday, is that remember this is the little anchor is on the second paragraph. Now that means that this little graphic will stay with this paragraph, but I don't want that to happen. So once again, I select the graphic and we'll just be consistent and go back up to wrap text and back down to more layout options. When I do that, I'm going to go over to position this time. And in position, I don't want that by default, that object that's going to move with the object with text. So I turn that off and I'm going to lock that anchor. So it means that this little graphic is going to be locked in place. And watch when I choose OK, a cute little, I don't know if you can tell, I'll move it a little bit, move this down a little bit. See, there's a cute little lock on it. I'll put it back kind of where it was. Now, one little last thing, and if you like these little tricks I'm showing you, we actually have 3 one-hour classes all about graphics. So if you want any more details about what I just showed you, or you want to know when the classes are, you can sign up at that for our reminder. Or if you just go over to virtualinstructor.com and click on Word, you'll see when those classes are. So there's a lot to graphics. I have 3 one-hour classes that we offer. So just so you know that. Now here's a little trick. Remember, it's locked. And if I did the 3 clicks, 1, 2, 3, to select the entire paragraph, it selects that graphic along with it. So the trick is to sneak up on it. And by the way, I'm going to show you one other thing. Sorry to get a little techie on you. Up on the Home tab, there's a little paragraph marker. When you click that, it shows where the end of the paragraph is. And if you don't know this already, Word stores all the information about that paragraph in these tiny little paragraph markers. So what we want to do is we're going to select this and watch. As I do this, I'm just going to use my arrow keys at this point. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and use the arrow key on the keyboard. Notice how it automatically selects the entire paragraph. So here's a little trick. Hold down the Shift key on the keyboard and tap the left arrow key so you don't select the paragraph marker. That will leave that graphic attached to this paragraph. And now I'm going to cut this, Control X or Command X, and I'm going to move down toward the bottom and I'll paste it. So see, I was able to paste the text without that graphic. And now this little graphic is locked in place. I'm going to hit delete to get rid of that extra paragraph. It's still locked in place. It wasn't associated with that paragraph marker. But in order to move the text without the graphic, you needed to know that extra little trick. So if you see things moving and you don't want them to, make sure you turn on that little show paragraph and hide show, and you can click again, it goes away. See that? And then just make sure that you do not include that. So again, once again, you highlight what you want and it will automatically take the paragraph marker. So you have to know the trick of holding down the Shift key and hitting the left arrow key once so that you don't select that anymore. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some ideas of just some of the really extra features you can do with Word and graphics or shapes. Now I'm going to pop back over to where we were, and I'll just pop back over to our website just for a moment because I do have an email for you. So if you're interested, you can sign up for a reminder, and we're not going to bombard you with emails, but if you want a reminder an hour before these different talks, this will also give you that. But if you sign up, you'll get some kind of step-by-step of what I just covered. And I hope you have, and by the way, if you want to sign up for any classes, you'll see that over at our website as well. So I hope you have a wonderful Labor Day weekend, and I hope that you found some of these little tips helpful. So the next time you're working in Word and you want to go ahead and start inserting some graphics, that you're not stuck with just the boring default. You can get a little fancier. Have a great rest of your day and hope to see you next Monday. We'll be talking about an overview of Microsoft Teams. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.